Hi everyone, my name is Caroline Sanford, and I am the great-granddaughter of Marceline Hemingway Sanford, the older sister of author Ernest Hemingway. Now, growing up, it was a bit odd having the public talk about my family history and dynamics, when I grew up hearing a bit more to the story than what is widely shared. There is a lot of interest towards Ernest's relationship with his mother, so I thought you may like to hear some of the stories that I heard about Grace Hall Hemingway. For those of you who don't know, Grace was an accomplished musician, having spent her adolescent years preparing for the New York Metropolitan Opera. And in 1895, after her mother's death, she moved to New York to study opera, but decided to return home to Oak Park, Illinois, and marry her neighbor, Dr. Clarence Edmonds Hemingway. When most women would step out of the spotlight after marriage and children, she ran a very successful music studio, often making more money than her husband. In 2017, I had the opportunity to intern with Ken Burns and Lynn Novick's Florentine Films while they were working on their Hemingway documentary. As my internship was ending, they had some interest in my family's stories and asked me to interview my grandfather, James Sanford, the son of Marceline and nephew of Ernest. The following clip is from the interview I conducted, where my grandfather talks about his memories of his grandmother, Grace Hall Hemingway.
Grandmother had some problems in her later years, and I had some driving lessons. And so when I was riding with grandmother and she never moved out of first gear, I helped her by moving the gear shift lever when she came to a stop and was starting out again. And I would call out the word clutch and I would move the gear shift lever for her. Later on, years later, when my mother inherited that particular car, a 1939 Ford, drove it for a number of years, and then she decided to buy a car of her own, a new car, and I asked if I could buy the old car, grandmother's car. And I did, and had some things done to it before I drove it out west. And I discovered that there were some specks on this imitation wood instrument panel. It was a wood grained, and I suppose it was a applied material. It wasn't real wood. What it turned out was that these were aqua and some other colors of paint. And they were there because when grandmother drove around, and she drove from Chicago out to Cape Cod and did painting there, and she would stop on her way going out west, and she drove as far as California. Now, this is a woman who just, when she wants to do something, she does it. And she would go out to, I believe it was Arizona, and stay on her way to the West Coast. And what she would do is put the front seat back as far as she could, and she had her materials, her easel, her paints, her turpentine, what have you, and she would paint in the car with the doors open, but these tiny little flecks of paint somehow got onto the instrument panel, and nobody knew anything about it, but it was my driving out west that where I found out what the cause was.